Hello, everyone. Welcome to Popcast on the Rocks, where a podcast that talks about pop culture things that interest us. And sometimes there is whiskey. My name is John, and I'm joined as always by Andrea. How's it going?
Good, good. Happy Monday, John. How are ya?
Good. I was a little thrown here because I hit the mute thing, and it doesn't say that the stream I'm watching is muted, but I can't hear it. So I guess it's all working.
Yeah, seems like a happy accident.
Mhm. If anyone is, like, creeped out by me, like, staring into your soul, like, you can blame my wife for that because last thing I did, like, apparently a whole intro and everything, and she's like, "You never once looked at the camera for how long?" So, I'm like, "Alright, I gotta make sure
Eye
after
contact.
2.5 years that when I'm talking to you, I'm looking here, and when I'm talking to the audience, I'm looking here." So, I'm getting better every day.
Aw. See, that's why you get married. Your better half helps you never stop improving.
Mhm. Yep. Yep. That's what it's called. Pointing out all your flaws incessantly helps you get
Yes. Yes.
better. No, I'm kidding. Um, well, anyways, we're here
Ashley's
tonight.
listening in a rage somewhere. Haha.
Yeah,
Just you wait.
yep, I'm making a list now.
Yep.
Um,
She sicked that
we're
fly on you.
right. Yeah. We have Castlevania Nocturne we're gonna be talking
Mhm.
about. We have discussed the Netflix animated Castlevania show previously on here, the previous seasons. Now we have what is I don't know, they seem to bill it as a spin-off before, but it's a sequel,
Yeah.
it's a sequel.
Yeah.
So,
I was having a hard time figuring out what to call it in my post, formerly Twitter, um,
mm,
if I was gonna call it like a spinoff or a sequel, and I went with sequel because that's what it
yeah,
feels like.
yep,
So,
yep. So yeah, we'll be getting into those first two episodes in spoilery detail, but that's a little bit later. So look forward to that. And then before that, we're gonna just catch you up on our weeks. We got some sad news. I've got one other news story that I don't remember if I put it in next week's list or not, but I'll probably bring it up today.
sure.
But we should really kick things off with our drink holidays.
Yeah, absolutely. We got a lot to celebrate, so I'll try to get through the list pretty quickly. It is on the tail end today, October 2nd, of Oktoberfest, which began on September 16th, running through tomorrow, October 3rd. So get your Oktoberfest celebrations in during the beginning of October, even though you've got a whole month of its namesake, but not the
Yeah.
celebration itself. Uh, 9/20, September 20th, it was Rum Punch Day. So if you're a rum fan, I'm not typically, but you know, the weather's hot enough lately in Minnesota. You could definitely be cruising for a summer cocktail, and that would be a classic.
Yeah.
On the 27th of September, it was Crush a Can Day, which I always forget about that holiday, but I love it. I think it's very funny. Uh, tail ending with that, or dovetailing with that, I should say, September 28th, it was Drink Beer Day. So, in honor of both of those two holidays, I am celebrating with a can o' beer. It is here we go, Saturday
Mm,
beer. It is brewed in Madison, Wisconsin, where Chris and I just went for a quick weekend getaway. And this one is called Lawn Lines, and it's a hazy IPA.
okay.
Yeah.
Nice. I don't think you can say you're celebrating Crush a Can Day unless you do that.
Yes, well, that's the
You gotta
plan.
crush it.
That's
Okay.
the
All right.
plan.
I
I can't crush it before I've drank it, though. That's just
oh, see,
bad.
I think of a crush a can in the sense of like you just knock it back.
Oh,
That's
okay.
how I think
See,
of anyways.
I mean, I took it both ways, but also like crush a can takes me back to very like the few college frat parties I went to when we were just like crush a can,
Ah, okay.
high
Okay. All
quality
right.
entertainment. But
Yeah.
yes, you can also crush a can in that sense.
Mhm, mhm. I do wanna before you continue here, just stop and say hello to MJ Honeybee in the
Hey,
chat.
MJ.
She says hello from the hospital bed. Now, if
I was
those
just gonna
of
say, I
you,
hope you're feeling well, and I hope surgery was
yeah,
a success.
yeah, I don't know how much she wants to share or anything like that with the general public, I guess, but I will say that I'm Chef? I don't but I'm sure she'd be good with saying, that it seems like it went very well, so, yeah.
Good. Alive.
Oh,
Okay, that
okay.
makes more sense.
Very different than shove, yes. She's saying,
I'm
I'm
shocked.
shove." Mhm.
uh,
Okay. Nice. Well, I mean, hopefully, yes, our familiar faces, provide you some minor level of entertainment whilst in the, I'm
recuperating.
sure, very comfortable, yes, hospital bed, so, mhm.
Well, I'm glad you're with us. I'm glad you're feeling, at least up to streaming a little bit after your stay in the or during your stay in the hospital. Just thinking about you.
Nice. Alright. Well, something that MJ could use probably bright and early tomorrow to get her going.
Yes, some coffee. Coffee. That was September 29th. That was the drink holiday. I didn't really feel like celebrating that because honestly, when you're a parent to two small children, every day is coffee day. So,
Yep.
I mean,
Hmm.
I celebrate the concept of coffee, but I don't need a specific day. So, but if you do, that was
Yep.
September 29th.
Hmm.
Followed, man, this end of September really had a whole run of days here. September
Hmm.
30th, it was mulled cider day, which it feels like that's a great kickoff to autumn drink. But yeah, if you live
Yes.
here in the Midwest, it was not a kickoff to autumn this weekend. It was a return to summer. So
Yeah.
perhaps mulled cider was not your drink of choice, which I
One last
completely
hurrah.
understand. Yeah,
Hmm.
it's summer's giving one last gasp here in
Hmm.
Minnesota. But yeah, if you're not up for the autumn drink, then maybe you're looking for a total change of pace. And the beginning of October, yesterday, October 1st, it was Sake Day. So
Nice. All right.
perhaps you might celebrate that instead.
In this last week, there's been something for everyone.
Yeah, yeah.
Absolutely
There's
something
been
for everyone.
a wide variety. How about you,
Hmm.
John? What perchance are you celebrating, if anything?
Oh, today was a very long day. So I have a glass of water. Um, I do, just in
Crushing.
case I felt like I had to. I have my tequila here yet,
All
so
right.
if I feel like it, if I need to like wake up or something, I'll take a little tequila.
All right.
So yeah. Um. All right. Well, how's your week been?
Been pretty good, been pretty busy. Sadly, not too much to do with the entertainment world, unless you count football, because I always have
Mm,
time for football. But I did get through a few things other than Castlevania, obviously, which we'll talk about later. Um, I did, as I was perusing through Netflix and adding Castlevania to my queue, I sneakily saw that Great British Baking Show updated with its new season and dropped its first episode. So Chris and I
mm.
rushed to get that under our belts. I'm so freaking excited. I love that
So
show. I love the
wasn't there
positivity. I'm just like, oh, yes, it's back.
wasn't there a question of whether that was going to continue or not? Did you
Yeah,
say
there
that?
was. Yep.
Okay.
Yep. Yeah, they've been kind of like shopping around in terms of like networks. Um, on that, they lost a host. They were potentially going to lose a judge. So there was a lot of like question marks around that series' future. But
Like they just
looks
didn't want to do it anymore. Like lose them seems to suggest like they just wanted to move on or like they were getting rid of them.
no, one of them quit for like their own reasons, and then I think there was just like contract negotiations with one of the judges that didn't seem to be going well, or what like were a
Okay.
question mark or something. There was some sort of hang up that they were trying to get past. I don't know how serious it was because everybody's except for the host who, voluntarily left, is back. So it seems like that worked out. But yeah, they're I mean, they kept it really under wraps. Normally it's a pretty publicized thing because Great British Baking Show has huge ratings for Netflix. So I'm not
Sure.
really sure why this new season dropped with like zero fanfare, but it's here.
Nice. All right.
I'll take it any way I can get it.
Mhm.
Other than that, I did some reading over these past 2 weeks. I finished Moonraker, which I really enjoyed. Um, that was like we were talking about this before. That was one of the Bond books that didn't feel so Bondy. It felt like a little more, I don't know, a little more serious, a little more technical, a little more, I'm not sure what the right term is, but
Okay.
it just felt really a little bit more gritty in terms of its movement away from maybe things like I'm really going to talk about what James Bond is eating for dinner here, or the cocktail that he's having, and really going to focus on like the technical aspects and the science behind building this, like, machinery, this rocket, this, I don't know, it just felt a little more in tune with the story rather than some of the extraneous details. It was a little
Okay.
less fun to be had, I think, but it was a lot more gripping for me.
Okay. Yeah. I thought that, yeah, I thought Moonraker really maintained its pace well
Mhm.
from start to finish. Like I really enjoyed Live and Let Die, but as I've said in our review, like it took me a little bit to get into it.
Mhm.
Um, Moonraker, kind of right away, I was really interested and like this Bond. Like I
Mhm.
didn't know how I would, obviously by the time Goldfinger the movie hit, like the movie Bond was its own thing in a way,
Right.
and Connery really defined that. And so I was like, I love that Bond. What is this, the original take on Bond, gonna feel like to me? And yeah, for the most part, pretty big fan. So I was. It's weird, I guess, to start with Moonraker for me in the middle, but it was a good entry point in terms of enjoyment. So.
Yeah, it makes me wonder what I would have felt like had I started with Moonraker and then like worked my way back to Casino
Hmm.
Royale and um Live and Let Die. That would have been interesting. I don't
Do you
know if
feel
I would
like
have had as much patience for it,
okay?
or vice versa. Maybe I would have appreciated Moonraker less.
Hmm.
I'm not sure.
Do you um do you think Fleming is getting better as he went along, sort of thing, or do you think it was just like, yeah, better story idea in this situation?
Probably a little bit of both. I mean, I think the story was better all around. I think I think it was just more centralized, and that really
It
helped
was
him,
simple.
like, yeah, drive it along. It was just a lot easier to keep track of everything. Everything like funneled into one overarching premise, and it all worked.
Hmm.
It wasn't too simple where you got bored with it. But everything was simple enough to keep one main storyline moving and keep you moving along with it. You didn't feel distracted. I mean, I really liked the characterization a lot more, I think, in Live and Let Die. I think he focused more on fleshing out, our main villain and even all the side characters that we were introduced to. I think everything felt really three-dimensional, even down to like the smallest side character in Live and Let Die. Whereas maybe you had a little bit of like caricature going on in our kind of henchmen in Moonraker,
Hmm.
but I think overarching, the story was much more compelling.
What do you think of the sort of I'm the villain and I'm going to explain to you my plot in this one?
Um, I I felt it mostly believable. I mean, I think in this particular event, Sir Hugo Drax is really, he's been living this double life for a very long
Yeah.
time, and he just needs to let it out and just
Right.
have someone know about it. He also, I think, wants to one up Bond and show him how really clever he is because Bond has beaten him so badly right in the beginning in this whole like card scheme. So I get that
Mhm.
he's trying to be like, no, like I'll show you. Like you think you pulled something over on me. I need to now prove how amazing and great and brilliant I am and how much I got away with, even though you caught this very small thing. So I think there was a lot of justification for having that go down and like having that story told. Um, Especially because I think it's been multiple times that Drax got like rebuffed or beaten or one upped either intentionally or accidentally by an Englishman. So I think the hatred was there.
Right.
So I totally got that. Did I buy like not just killing Bond outright? Probably not. That was probably a
Sure.
little, I don't know. I don't know.
Explain
It
to him
seems,
the plan and then end him, and then just
and
shoot
then
him.
just, yeah, yeah, say it and then, make sure he's ended. He doesn't need to like see the plan go through. So,
Mhm.
yeah.
Mhm.
That part I always find when villains are like, "Here, let me explain it," but then just like leave you to your fate while
Yeah.
I go do whatever. It's like, "No, wouldn't you want to stay and be like, nope, you're dead."
If it hadn't been such a trope in the films, I think it bothered me less in the books. But because
Yeah,
I'm like so aware that it's a thing and that they've done in the movies, and then Austin Powers has obviously made fun of it and stuff like that,
right.
it really stands out. But
Well, and it I think stands out more when you can see it visually when you watch them like close the
yeah,
door and leave them in a room and you're like, "What are you doing?" Like in the
yeah,
pages of a book, like it just you have to like forcefully visualize it to really
right.
get the effect of them like leaving the room.
Hmm.
So it
Yeah.
seems less impactful, but yeah, it's still I
I
mean,
just,
because we have the movies and we've seen it, it does hit you in the books.
yep. And just the way that, like, there was, um, you know, Bond things are just handled differently in the books. In the movies, totally guards would come in, he would have broke free, beat him up and stuff. In this, so like we need someplace to hide, and we go up in like the exhaust vents or whatever, and
Yeah,
they're like blasted with like hot steam and stuff, and they just have to deal with it. Like it's
right.
totally not the bombastic hero moments very
Not
often.
glamorous. Not
Yeah.
glamorous at
Mm.
all. Yeah, they talk about, like, the burns they suffer, and it's like, just gotta keep going.
Yep. Yep. But
Yeah.
I can you see why in this one I pictured Connery more? It really
Yeah.
felt like a Connery thing, like, especially him, like, kinda seducing or trying to seduce the, female protagonist here on the beach and stuff like that. This
Yep.
just felt like kind of a Connery thing. So,
I absolutely agree. Yeah.
um, well, I wanna just, like, bring up really quickly the one Bond relevant news story then that I was gonna mention while we're on it.
Mhm.
There's latest rumor is that Christopher Nolan is in late stage talks to direct at least two Bond films, but they will be direct adaptations of novels and set in the time they originally took place. So they'll be period pieces. What are your
Interesting.
thoughts?
I would totally go for a period piece. That would be really fun. Um, yeah, I think it'd be fun and different, and, I mean, I don't know what his vision is, if they're gonna kind of buy into this like long term or if this is just like kind of a fun deviation or a little blip. I kind of feel like having it just be two short films or, whatever it is, like a short little run of whatever, that would be really fun.
Hmm.
I
Hmm.
think you would have to pick the right books to do.
Right. Hmm. Yep.
but
Yeah,
it
absolutely.
could be really fun. It could be really fun chance to remake some books that that got turned into film adaptations that didn't really get a fair shake or just turned out
Like
really
Moonraker.
badly, like Moonraker.
Like
Absolutely.
so, yeah, I just thought this was interesting. It's been discussed for a while, talked about that. I mean, Christopher Nolan says he's a big Bond fan. It's a big influence for him, and so a lot of people would like him to do it. But the doing the period piece element, I think, is the good part of this for sure, the best part,
Mhm,
because a lot of people want Bond to kind of return to sort of the fun style, a little more of like a Brosnan era, not
mhm,
going all Roger Moore and stuff, but
right.
just more action adventure fun spy thing, like a Tomorrow Never Dies or something like that.
Yeah,
And I'm totally on board with that, but I just don't know if I I wonder if this would resonate with audiences more than that right now. Like, maybe we need a few more years for Bond to return to that, like, you just keep the audience, you know you see how through the decades films change in tone. It's like
mhm,
in this 70s, things were real dark or whatever. Um, but before that, a couple decades ago, you had like Flash Gordon and stuff, really
mhm,
bright science fiction sort of things, and even Star Trek. So just go ebbs and flows, and I don't know. I feel like this might be a good way to really bring Bond back to his roots. I know they don't like putting smoking in films, but if you do a period piece, you just like it just can it's
yeah,
part of it. So you can get away with incorporating some more true Bond things because it's not set in modern day.
right.
And I think it's kind of a good way to get around that.
Well, and I feel too that, if they're gonna move forward with this, it would be really nice to maybe take some pressure off the franchise. If Nolan is contracted to do just these two films and nobody feels the pressure to like make this like this is our next Bond, this is our next, like entire direction. We're going to get like five movies out of this. We don't have to
Mm,
have the pressure of like carrying forward the franchise and this is the Bond we've committed to. So maybe we could like loosen up, breathe some life back into this because hey, it's just two films, two, fun little romps. They're period pieces. They're not like this is our legacy here. So let's take some pressure off and just have a good time. Maybe that's what
sure.
this needs right now is just a break to just have fun with it and not feel the pressure like this has to be successful because this is the vision we've committed to for the next 5, 8 years, 10 years, whatever it is.
That's true. And it could be then, yeah, it could be if it really resonates with people, you keep going, you know?
Right.
And if it doesn't, then it's over before too long. So,
Exactly. Then cool, we tried our hand at that. Maybe it gave people a break. Maybe they're ready to, move forward and yeah, we are going to commit to like our new bond. But I
nice.
think it's a good idea.
Cool. Um, all right. Nice. Yeah. Glad you might like Moonraker in a couple weeks. Hopefully we'll manage to make it work to talk about Diamonds Are Forever.
Yep.
Um,
I'm about halfway through that and liking that as well. It's again a little bit of a tonal shift and I can see some kind of like film elements to this, but it's an
okay.
interesting story so far.
Okay. Yeah, I've only just begun, and I really like the way it starts out. So it definitely hooked me
Mhm.
quick, and I thought it was
Yeah.
pretty pretty fun way to get started. Um, I also I want to mention that I watched or I played Baldur's Gate 3 now. I finally
Mhm.
started Baldur's Gate 3. It's it was available on Mac. I thought it was available for Mac on the same day that it came out on PC, but it wasn't. And whatever is finally available, I started it, and it's been fun to like kind of get me back in the D&D space headspace a little bit. Makes me work on my own stuff a little bit, or at least think about it, take some notes. So yeah, it's been a good time.
Good.
And then I'm gonna be trying to watch. I'm gonna try my best. I'm gonna try better this October, even though I'll be in the field to uh, watch more horror movies. So
Yes,
I'm
always
gonna,
on board for that. So is this what
yeah.
you've picked for your first one? What you have listed
Which
here? Are you counting this Beetlejuice here as your
I
horror
yeah, I
movie?
guess so. I guess
All
so.
right.
Yeah, I mean, I've never seen it in full, so um,
It's so
I
funny. I
s-
had never seen it in full until last year.
okay, okay,
Like
nice,
I
yeah.
was totally late to the party too.
hmm I love how it starts. It's looks
Mhm.
seem very very promising. I would have kept watching it, but um, I needed to put in headphones. The sound was too dynamic. It was going to wake up the kids,
Yeah,
so we
been
just
there.
paused it for now. So yeah, yeah. I so our friend Luke, not my brother-in-law. He um he has this kind of group chat sort of thing of horror fans. And so once a month they do a movie night thing, like just everybody hit play at the same time, whatever, and then chat about it as it's going.
Fun.
So I'm in this now, and we did what was it? I forgot what it was called the last one. That was like the first one I was able to um do, but it was a lot of fun. It was like a early 90s or 80s kind of silly horror thing with a lot of claymation. It was really good. But this month they picked the Blackening, and I completely forgot to like sign into Slack and stuff like that. And so I with my new phone, and so I was missing all the messages about it and stuff. But
Sure.
I watched it, and like I didn't have high hopes for it or whatever, but I can't say I loved it. Um, Pretty well acted. I think it's the director's first film.
Okay.
Um, no, it was the cinematographer's first film. Sorry, that kind of shows. I guess I was hoping for something more fun and not kind of trying to drag me into the moment all the time.
Okay.
Um, it was tonally too. It didn't know if it wanted to be all fun or if it kind of wanted to be scary too.
Sure.
So yeah, wasn't
I do not remember this movie, so I had to look it up. So
yeah. Yeah, I saw a trailer for it at one point and that was about it. It's like, oh maybe that's funny, I don't know. And
sure.
so I made it all the way through the movie. I watched it with everybody. Um but yeah, I can't say that I super recommend it.
Okay.
So I've watched a couple horror movies already. So
Yeah, it looks like from reviews I mean, it can't quite tell if it's a spoof. It's a comedy horror,
mhm, yeah,
but unsure if it's going to be like officially a spoof on horror or not, or if it's like trying to do a little bit of straight horror
right.
as well.
Because
Interesting.
it's not scary at all, but
Sure.
um I
Yeah, it
don't
just
know.
looks like it might have had a little identity crisis and
Mhm, mhm.
that happens. But yeah, now I'm kind of
Yeah,
interested but unsure. We'll see.
yeah. Okay, we should get into our one. I guess we had the one on the news story, but we have one other one that
Mhm.
is not happy news.
No.
We fortunately haven't had one of these in a while that we've like mentioned or whatever. But Michael Gambon has passed
Mhm.
away. Think our generation certainly, probably our audience is very familiar with him the as Dumbledore. Replaced Richard Harris pretty early on,
Mhm.
and I think did a pretty marvelous job, despite like the kind of weirdness of the fourth movie.
Yeah.
portrayal of Dumbledore. That's kind of some weird moments there. But
Yeah.
yeah, it's too bad. But he was getting older. Do you know how old he was? I think he was 80s,
80.
in his 80s, 82, I think, I remember maybe.
Yeah, I thought
But
82 or
oh yeah,
3.
yep, Alan says 82. So
Okay. Yeah.
rest in peace, Michael
Sad.
Gambon.
Yeah, I just it wasn't something that I saw coming. I mean, I know he was an older gentleman, um, but these days, I mean, your 80s doesn't seem like, you know, oh, you've hit 80, it's an automatic, like you could go at any moment. It just, I
Sure.
don't know. Plus, I think the hazard of playing sometimes an older character is you feel like they're just sort of that ageless
Yeah.
old, you know, the
Mhm.
sort of agelessness that just like happens and extends. Like sadly, someone else who passed away, Betty White, you know, she could have been 80 years old for 30 years, it seemed like.
Yeah. Mhm.
So, yeah, this
Yeah.
just wasn't on my radar. So it kind of just came out of nowhere and just hit
Mhm.
me a little bit. It was very sad.
I remember the first movie I saw with Michael Gambon that wasn't Harry Potter. I
Okay.
think it was I think I'm thinking of the right movie, Layer Cake with Daniel Craig,
Okay.
and he is very different than Dumbledore. He curses all the time, and so it's just like, "What is happening here?" To our
How dare you?
yes, our sweet, wise Dumbledore.
Right.
But,
Gosh, I'm trying to remember the first thing I saw him in that wasn't Harry Potter, because I know I have. Oh, Sleepy Hollow.
oh, okay, yes. Yes. Mhm.
Yep.
That's
I
true,
was
that's
like,
a
I
good one.
know that is a good one. And that is definitely not um
Right. Not
anything
Dumbledore as well.
resembling. Yeah, exactly. But yeah, that was definitely the first time I'd seen him in something that wasn't Harry
Mhm.
Potter.
Do you think it is a, um do you think you would see it as a good thing or a negative to have be in a position sort of like a Michael Gambon to many of a generation, you are Dumbledore. You are this character to them, as opposed to like maybe a Christian Bale to our generation is like the many faced, he's like plays all kinds of
Mm,
roles and transforms his body wildly. And like we are aware of that, even if we have a role that we are most familiar with. There is a lot that have reached like
sure, there's a
iconic
range.
status. Yeah,
Mm,
whereas, like, there's some actors that are, like, they're gonna be that character.
mhm. Yeah, I mean, I think that's definitely a hazard of playing an iconic character, and I think you have to, as an actor, decide how much. I think for younger actors, you have to decide how much you want to let that define you, or how much you want to try and break out of that. Um, and for older actors, I feel like they just sort of don't care as much. Do you
Hmm,
know what I mean? They don't take that so seriously. They're like, if I'm seen as that, great. I'm still gonna do this whole other body of work because, you know, like I'm committed to it at this point. I probably have a career behind me that I'm already satisfied with. So I feel like for somebody like Michael Gambon, that isn't probably as much of a consideration as it would be to like, somebody just starting out like
yeah,
um uh oh my gosh, Daniel Radcliffe.
sure.
That's like, ooh, there's a danger here that I could be Harry Potter forever. I think he's done
Mhm,
like a nice job of just doing other stuff enough that he's just, I mean, he will always be Harry Potter, but it's not like
mhm.
the absolute be all end all.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that would be a thing. I mean, basically, he can live off of that he was Harry Potter as a kid
Right.
forever. Can live off of that. And
And
then
now
if
he
you
can
just,
just
like,
do whatever.
just work. Yeah, just do your jobs, and they're never gonna be like that again,
Mhm.
but you get thankful for that time, and now you just that affords you job opportunities, and yeah.
Yeah.
All right,
Very
moving
sad
on.
news, obviously.
Yes.
Yeah, I think obviously he was a cherished part of those films, taking over after Richard Harris, passed away himself. So at least for that, we weren't in the position. He wasn't in the position of replacing someone. It was, someone has to
Yeah.
come in and do this, and I'm just going to do the best that I can. Tough though,
Yep.
still, but he did
Yep.
well.
Okay. Castlevania Nocturne.
Yeah,
Netflix animated series, follow up to Castlevania, seasons 1 and 2 and 3. Yeah,
three.
3 seasons. Yep. 3 seasons. So now we're, you know, for all intents and purposes in Castlevania season 4. But we've watched the first 2 episodes. What I mean, what were your hopes and expectations going in?
Hmm.
And did this meet or not those expectations? In what ways?
Yeah. So I guess I kind of want to start off with the good. Um, so the good was this was instantly recognizable, like the animation, the style, even just like the sort of feel of starting off in this like scenery, this well developed town, the buildings, the way things that were drawn. I still was like, yep, this feels I'm in the universe. I'm going back to Castlevania. So that was the nice, like recognizable, familiar. Um, Even though we were kind of thrown in once again in kind of like a in the middle story that revealed itself quickly, but you had to take a beat. Um, the bad part about the beginning of this was it felt very like, well, I know how this is playing out, so
Mm.
bummer. This is a cool opening fight that was really visually, once again, like recognizable, like the choreography, the fight style. I just felt very familiar. And yet, even before it began, I was like, well, I know what's going to happen here because we have to set up, obviously, our hero for some trials, some forging, and some loss and tragedy. And yeah, pretty much know how that's
Mhm.
going to go.
Mhm.
So the
Yes.
beginning was very much a mixed bag in that sense. Did
So
I
you're talking
feel
about,
like,
like, really the opening combat
yeah,
set. Yeah, okay, yep. Mhm.
yeah. I mean, right, like this is like my very first impression of the series, and it was a very mixed bag because I there were elements that I really enjoyed, the familiarity, and yet you used a familiar story, and I felt a
Yeah.
little disappointed
It's
in
like
that.
Richter is not doing what his mother is saying, and he's gonna be a distraction. Yes, 100%. 100%.
Yeah,
That's
like this
there's the
this fight
drama for
started,
him.
and she is going to
Yes.
lose.
Yes. Mhm.
So, I don't know. I mean, I sort of feel like I wish it would have like flipped something on its head or there would have been something like some surprise element or whatever. But all right. So yeah, so the beginning was a mixed bag, but I felt like the episodes, once we had to get over that, like, oh, we have trauma in our past in our childhood, got really great. Like we just fast forwarded. Now Richter's like established. We didn't have to go like through a growing up series. We can maybe flash back to that later. Great. Skip ahead. Let's get right to the meat of the drama. Thank you. So that
Sure.
jump forward I appreciated and I liked. Now we're like really getting into a storyline for Richter.
Mhm. Yeah.
The other thing I
Um,
was a little surprised at from the opening, I definitely thought that this was going to be like a direct sequel or spin-off or whatever. Like, I definitely thought for the way that it was pitched initially, Richter was gonna be like Trevor and Sypha's son.
right. Mhm. Sure.
And so I was
As
just sort of a
opposed to
little like, "Oh, there's people in between somewhere."
yeah. Mhm. Yep. No, I agree. I kind of thought that too, but then when we saw the year, and it's like,
Yeah.
"Oh, this is much later." So,
Yep.
yeah. Um, yeah, I agree. I thought the vampire anyways at the beginning was really cool.
Yeah.
I think he's a cool, um trauma to have return for Richter. Did
Mhm.
you think I thought his voice sounded like, and maybe it is him, I don't know, the actor in Westworld who
Mhm.
plays the like American Indian like Westworld guy? Is
Mhm.
that him or do you just think it sounds like him?
I don't know, I didn't look it up, but yes,
Mhm.
you are correct in that it does sound like him.
Yeah. I hope it is him. He's cool. But yeah, I like that. I see that you mentioned about not being sure about Richter's voice, and I agree. I brought that up to Ashley, and she's like, I like it or whatever." And it's like, I don't know that I don't like it. I don't know that it fits. I'm not
Yeah,
sure.
it took me almost to the end, I feel like, of episode 2 to not notice his voice, to just
Okay.
sort of go
Hmm.
with, it's Richter speaking right now.
Right.
It had to grow on me. I don't know that it fully has, but at least it's not distracting me anymore.
Yep. Yep. Um, I like that this isn't Castlevania very often is, oh, Dracula's back. I like that at this point anyways, it's not that. I wouldn't be surprised if we get that at some point in
Mhm.
animated Castlevania form, bringing Dracula back. But right now, that's not the case. I like it.
Yes.
I like the pace they've been moving at thus far. Um, I have to say, they're on the screen now for those that are watching. There's our two newer characters that are introduced, and the gentleman from, say, Puerto Rico. I forget where he says he's from.
Santo Domingo, thought?
I'm not sure. Somewhere in like the Caribbean. He he does a singing scene, and I want to bring this up because it's just this can go in the bucket of applying to a lot of things. Singing is very difficult in animation and like video games, so it's also animation. I don't know that I loved it. I get the idea that it was a good song, it was pretty and stuff. They didn't hold frame on him for too long and all sort of thing. But there's
Mhm.
just a believability, like the precision needed for singing and the specificity of like the mouth movements and everything just doesn't sell to me in animated form. I just said I was playing Baldur's Gate 3 and there's this musical scene and it's a very beautiful song in a beautiful situation. It's nice, but just doesn't
Mhm.
quite have the same weight. So,
Yeah, that that scene felt odd to me. It felt like they were really pushing he's an opera singer thing.
sure.
And I
Yeah.
just didn't feel the necessity of that scene unless it was to give us some more moments with him before obviously
Yeah.
his very, early tragic demise. So yeah, I felt the scene was forced. You're right. Like singing isn't terribly natural, especially with this particular style of art and animation. Yeah, the whole thing felt forced.
Mhm.
Was his voice beautiful? Yes. Was the song beautiful? Yes. Was it a humanizing moment? Absolutely. But yeah, it just it kind of felt a little out of left field for me.
I imagine like a comedy where someone's like, someone you barely know is going to sing over your pet's grave or something like that. And you're like, oh, you okay. And then everybody's awkward. They're just like,
Yep.
oh, this person just broke into song here. I mean, I appreciate the gesture, but I don't know what to do
It
right now.
it does sort of remind me of like it reminds me of like a gag they do in like the American Office where like a bird has flown into the office window and they have like a bird funeral and somebody starts singing and like playing the recorder and it's like
See, perfect. Yeah.
So, yeah, so it does feel very like,
It's
"Okay,
exactly
thank
this.
you."
Mhm. I
Yeah,
mean, maybe, back in the day that would feel more natural, more
sure.
singers and performers or something and street corners or something. And you just like, I don't know, maybe it would feel more natural in a different time. But
Mhm.
so, I do have to say, I know it's like really going towards the end of episode 2, but I do have to say I'm happy that he is dead though, because when we had
Mhm,
Richter and his young friend here and her mother,
mhm.
and then 2 new people, it's like this is a lot of people all of a sudden. This is too many to deal with right now.
Sure,
And to like properly make us care and give us backstories and all this stuff and have different powers and all this stuff for a season that's, like 8 episodes long or whatever.
sure.
So I thought it worked well to, just that one more motivating thing. Now his friend is going to have a foil to have to face off against because she'll recognize somehow the monster that he's become.
Right.
So it just adds something, and you know, I thought it was worked out well.
Yeah, so I mean, I didn't feel, I guess I didn't feel that his character was too much of an addition. Um, I liked his death for a different reason, just because it just showed that the series was not afraid to have death and have it
Sure.
soon. Have a
Yeah.
character like, "Oh, hey, are you really interested in this character? Sorry, gone." Um, you
Mhm.
know, "Oh, hey,
Yeah.
did these four make a really stupid move trying to go
Yeah.
spy on the marquee and, go to the house, the chateau or whatever and be not sneaky?"
Yeah. Lose their
Consequences,
cool and just stand up above the hedges.
right?
Ah.
Co Consequences. Um,
Yep.
so I appreciated the fact that, they weren't afraid to have death early, to make it pretty violent and dramatic, to have all of those creatures just basically dogpile on him and watch his, horrified eyes as they ran away. It was
Yeah.
very emotionally visceral. And I thought the actress, who voices his friend Annette, did a great job just expressing like the raw rage and grief that I think anyone would have
Mhm.
felt at losing, someone like that. Um, but I do agree with one of your sentiments that this show is short and there's already a lot going on. We have like the whole French Revolution. We have Richter's, past with Ulrox from America, from Boston. um, we have the Marquis, this vampire evil. We have the vampire Messiah evil. We
Mhm.
have the church going on, who's either fostering, harboring, aiding a forge master. I mean, there's a lot happening here. So I think it's all very compelling and all very interesting, and I hope it weaves together into one, you know, seamless story arc. But if it doesn't, we're already getting very messy. So I guess taking away
Sure.
something is possibly a good thing.
Sure. Yeah. Yeah, that definitely surprised me. I thought it was interesting the early confrontation with the abbot and
Hmm.
sort of like I don't know, I thought it was a well structured conversation, I guess, and you seeing
Hmm.
the different range of um, the way they want to have this talk, the way Richter handles it or whatever, and how the abbot seemed pretty sensible, but they were clearly on the opposite. Like they had a common interest in getting rid of vampires, but they're on opposite sides of the idea of a revolution.
Right.
And so that was just an interesting conflict to introduce, and how I thought for a minute maybe like Abbott would be better because this show historically has been really like the priests are bad news, like
Yeah.
that's all corruption and terribleness and some of that. And I
Down
thought
with the church.
maybe like,
Yeah.
yeah, maybe this would be a little different. And so I'm kind of interested in more explaining here, because how did we go from, well, look, we see it as an affront to God to take down the monarchy of France. So therefore, will conspire with essentially demons. Will
Yeah.
conspire with vampires that are reanimating dead humans,
Mhm.
and like that would seem like a large leap for me.
Yeah. Yeah. There's gonna have to be some great explanation or, just reasoning behind or, even if it's like two antithetical ideas, people can absolutely hold, those two diametric opposites in their minds. You just have to explain it in a way that makes sense. People because
Right.
humans are very complex creatures, and so they can absolutely hold like
Yeah.
two opposing ideals. You just have
Right.
to make it make sense, whether it's like trauma or, like an influence, a leader who says, who's so powerful and persuasive that, X happens. Whatever it is, you just have to make it make sense. So you're
Yeah.
right. Right now, the church seems to be holding two very opposing thoughts or aims.
Hmm.
So how do we make them make sense? And
Yep.
that's what I hope happens because, yeah, it's a little startling right now.
Show us the cope. Show us the
Mhm.
rationalization. Whatever that's
Yep.
happening there,
Yep.
to or the denial or something. So.
Yep.
I saw in your comments here, oh, Vampire Messiah is already here. Um,
Yeah.
that is interesting, because so often it's like, oh, they must be woken up,
Yes.
you gotta resurrect them or whatever. It's
Yes.
like that's a whole big quest element for the baddies. And we don't have that, so that's kinda cool.
Yeah, I kinda like that. I kinda like that we're skipping some of that, we need X ingredients and the moon has to be and we have to be here, whatever. Vampire Messiah is here. Holy crap.
Hmm.
Like, let's deal with it then. Let's
Hmm.
meet them and let's go. I love it.
Yep. Um, I know it's never gonna change. It's just the way it is. But I would prefer if movies and television shows that are set in a certain location that speak a certain language spoke
Ah,
that language. I know, look, Gladiator, they all speak English. Ridley Scott's masterpiece, they're all speaking English.
yep.
But so it's not like a new thing at all. But just if I had my way, I'd be like, well, this show is casting French people. That's what's happening here, or at least French, people are fluently French.
Right.
Um, even an even an accent, even a
Yeah.
legitimate accent would go a ways to be like, we're in France.
Right. No, I mean, I totally get it. Obviously, Richter can be exempt because he grew up in Boston. Sure, fine. I mean,
He needs to
maybe he
speak
would.
French now.
Well, right. I mean, maybe he would have picked up an accent, but like we can at
Yes.
least like grasp some
Yes.
straws there. Um,
Mhm.
yeah, it is frustrating because it does feel like I think it's Tara and Marie are his aunt slash cousin. They feel like they would have been living in France long enough. Obviously, we got the mother's whole backstory, and we know she's not originally from France. Um, but it feels like they would have been there long enough, and at least her daughter would have spoken with an accent. But then
Yeah.
you also have our new characters coming in, Annette and Edouard. They have accents appropriate to their
Mhm.
background. So it's like you gotta pick a lane. Either everybody
Yeah.
is just, forget it. We're all just English or whatever we are,
Yeah.
or
Mhm.
or you at least try to find an appropriate accent if we're all gonna speak
Mhm.
English, so we can at least acknowledge the region that we're supposed to be in.
Mhm. I just think it would be a cool addition to some things, to face the fact that a lot of people throughout history had some communication barriers, because they
Mhm.
might travel from one place to another. And if they don't know that language, now it's an issue, and if you play D&D, you pick your languages that you know at the beginning. You're given a certain amount. And if you find a book that's in a language you don't know, you can't read it. Like, you gotta find someone that does know how to read it or whatever. If it's someone
Sure.
speaking a language you don't understand what they're saying.
Right.
It's just a level of realism that, look, we're gonna get again Ridley Scott's Napoleon starring the great Joaquin Phoenix, and none of them are gonna speak French. Um, but please give us at least the accent. Make everybody do the accent. So
I mean, accents come with their own caution. We have heard me many times, and I'll say it again, harp on about the fact that Channing Tatum can never be Gambit because I will not hear an accent out of that mouth. It is not going to happen. I don't believe it's possible. And
yes,
Gambit needs that accent. He needs it. It
mhm.
is
It's a very
core, central.
specific accent.
Yes.
Mhm,
So I
mhm.
totally, you don't have to convince me with your argument. Like, I totally buy in. And yes, it is distracting. And I did think of you when Maurice first started speaking, and I was like, "Oh boy."
Uh, yep. I speaking of our mother though, I really did, like her backstory. I liked this aside they made to explain it, and the animation they did for it. They did some really cool stuff. They made her sister really scary. She's also like,
Mhm.
wow, she's a vampire. I liked that a lot. But I was definitely worried when I was like, oh, Richter's like, don't worry, we'll be really careful.
Oh, right.
We're gonna be so careful. It's like you're leaving her behind where they clearly already know you live.
Right.
Like, wouldn't the safest thing be right now to stick together or make sure that she has a proper hiding place or something like that? Because I'm worried that they're gonna come back now and she's gonna be
Right.
dead too.
I was gonna say they aren't back yet in the series.
Yeah.
Watched. So we'll see.
Mhm. Yep. Um, yeah. Did you enjoy her backstory?
I really did. I thought it made perfect sense. It was a great way to get the backstory now on, Countess Bathory, and set up why our characters should be afraid, and like why this is better. It's a great way to like introduce the audience to this, but then also get depth on a character. So I thought it was all really well done.
Nice. Yeah. Um, all right. Well, those are first two episodes. What else do we have to say? Anything that we've not really mentioned on these? Like, like I say, a lot of it was familiar in the sense of like the
Mhm.
animation feels similar. Art. I think there's maybe a little more detail or something with the art style. I thought it was, but I think it's feels like a continuation of what we had before. Music was good.
Yeah. Yeah, music was good. I the only other things I want to say are I liked the kind of little evolutions we have on weaponry for our heroes. Obviously, we have the whip, which is something familiar to us. We have like the elemental style magic that we've seen like Sypha use, but now we have Marie has these like birds, and there was
Yeah.
just something interesting and different, and I kind of hope we get into that a little bit. Or like Richter has the whip, but then he also uses the whip with knives in a very
Hmm.
specific way. So it's just like little added things to the familiar that I thought were believable, interesting, but not like we're trying too hard here.
Yep. Yep. No, I agree. I thought the animal thing was cool. And that she's like pulling out familiars.
Hmm.
There's a poster I'll have to send you of like the two of them from a Castlevania game, and I thought they
Yeah.
got the look of them pretty good. And I felt bad though because in this last confrontation, she like pulled out this turtle and stuff, and it was being used to like block all kinds of stuff in front of her. I was like, oh, poor turtle, just getting
No.
blasted there.
I know.
Personal shield.
If it keeps going this way, I'm gonna have a really hard time with this season because I am absolutely famous for feeling awful for animals in movies and not as awful
Hmm.
for humans. Like, I always feel bad when animals die. Like,
Hmm.
forget like, movies with war horses and that kind of stuff. I'm always like,
Yeah.
"Horsey." Killed the whole squad of soldiers, whatever. Like they're fine.
Mhm, mhm. Yep, yep. Um, okay. Well, yeah. I'd
Yeah.
say, I was really didn't know. I was hoping it would kind of follow the same track of the other one, but it's like, well, I don't know if it's gonna be able to live up. And we're only 2 episodes in, but so far to me, it's promising. So
If you had to give it a rating on a scale or a letter grade, you pick what you want to do. Where do you feel like it would fall for you?
I usually do on 5.
Okay.
So I'm gonna say it's hard because it's obviously just pieces of a story.
Hmm.
Probably, I mean, it's a 4. It's not above a 4. I would
Yeah.
say it could be a 3.5, depending where it goes. But if I'm trying to not think about that all and just these 2 things by themselves, um, if I'm just kind of like I say, going through the lists of like voice acting and overall story and animation and art style, it's been enjoyable. So
Well, no, unfortunately, no drama to end our episode because I'm gonna agree with you. I was thinking in my brain like 3.5, 4, somewhere
mhm,
in that range. Like it's really good. It's really solid. I think there's potential for messiness in all of the elements that have been introduced, but I mean, I have hope based on the quality of these first 2 episodes that it'll come together and be a comprehensible and exciting storyline.
yeah, thanks. All right. Um, that's been Castlevania Nocturne, episodes 1 and 2.
Mhm.
Make sure if you're watching the show, follow along with us as we talk about the upcoming episodes. Um, our theme song was written by Killing the Flower. You should make sure to check them out. MJHoneybee was in the chat right away at the beginning. Just got done with a procedure, so she's healing in the hospital. So everybody wish her well, and you can wish her well by following her Twitch channel. Can be a good way to do it. Go to
Smooth, smooth.
MJ Honeybee and check out her Twitch channel and her Discord. So she hasn't been streaming for just a little bit of time for the hospital and stuff like that, but I'm sure she'll be back as soon as she can be. Can be, ha pun. And then see Mike, our friend Mike from the anime show, is Trackmouse34 on YouTube. He keeps promising he's going to upload new racing videos. I haven't seen any yet, so you can go on over there, leave a comment, say, "Hey, I thought that you were supposed to be putting new videos out. Where are they?" Says John. Um, yeah, but you can check out what he's got going there already. Let's see. Just make sure that you follow us where you can, like, share, subscribe, rate, review, all those sorts of things. We're on Twitch and YouTube, and the site normally formerly known as Twitter, and
Hmm.
Facebook, and podcast directories. A bunch of podcast directories I don't even know of. I don't even know their names, and you might have it. It might be your favorite podcast service ever, and we're there. So make sure to check us out in those places as well. I don't think I've forgotten anything. This next week, so things are going to get a little weird with farming for me, my schedule. So the hope is that next week we can discuss the next 2 episodes of Jujutsu Kaisen. And then the week after that, to be discussing Diamonds Are Forever, the novel and
Hmm.
movie comparison. I don't know if that's going to happen, but we're going to keep trying to put something out and get you things as timely as possible as we like make it through this busy October month. So yeah, that's all I have.
They do it.
All right, Andrea, thanks once again for joining me.
Of course. As always, cheers, everybody.